friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I have for you today are 12 great indie horror films, and this was based on a poll that I put out over on the community tab. So you guys picked the video, and that's what I'm doing. And I will get to horror comedies later in the month. Don't worry, we're going to do them both. And just before I get into this, I just wanted to say that indie horror, I think, is so important to the genre because when people go in, they're on these shoestring budgets. These are really usually self-made movies by the filmmakers. They come up with their own funding. They have their own cast. A lot of times they're not professional actors. But the great thing about indie horror is that it allows them more creative freedom. And it really is the breeding ground where new concepts come up, boundaries can be pushed, and they're not held to the guidelines of the big studios. They can really get creative and they can really sink their teeth into their storyline and come up with some really original and really groundbreaking ideas moving the horror genre forward. So I have a lot of respect for indie, any kind of indie filmmaker, but indie horror filmmakers, because I just have such a love for the genre. And I have met indie horror filmmakers at conventions, and they're always so amazing, and they're fascinating people to talk to, always very fan friendly, and they really appreciate the support. So like I said, I have 12 here. I could have had 50, I could have had 100, so we may see other installments of indie horror if you guys enjoy this one. And I'm going to just get right into it with my first one, which is a Spanish film, and it is called Piggy. And this is a coming-of-age story. I really, really love this right from the first watch. And we have a gal here. She's probably about 14, 15 years old. She is overweight, and she really keeps to herself because the other girls in the village, they really make fun of her. They call her names. They call her Piggy, and they make fun of her, and they taunt her, and they're just not very nice. And she does her own thing. She goes down to the swimming hole. She goes to the pool. She does her thing. And one day when she is swimming, she sees these girls kidnapped and thrown into a van and taken off. And she knows what happened. She saw the perpetrator, and she doesn't say anything. And everyone is looking for these girls, and she knows what happened, and she knows where they are. And these were some of the girls that were making fun of her. But at the same time, she also has this morbid fascination with the person who took the girls. And that's where I'm going to leave it, because that's where we're off to the races. But if you haven't seen Piggy, definitely give it a watch. It's a really, really good coming-of-age horror slasher. I mean, it is a bloodbath by the end, but it's really, really good. So Piggy's my first pick. Now this one I've talked about before. I love this one. This is an Israeli film, and this was going for $1 back in the day when the dollar store had movies and they were $1. Big Bad Wolves. And you can see right on the top, the little blurb, it says best film of the year from Quentin Tarantino. It's called Big Bad Wolves. And I loved this one. I thought this was fantastic. Now, it does have a little bit of dark humor thrown in, but it works. It's mostly just straight up horror. What we have is a serial killer on the loose, and the serial killer is preying on children. But the police can't find enough evidence to arrest this person, lock him up, charge him, whatever. And this father takes things into his own hands, and they kind of know who the guy is, but they can't really prove it. He takes the guy and he takes him to a remote house that he owns where no one will ever hear him, no one will ever look for him, and he stays there, and he's going to get the information out of him one way or another. And you know what I'm saying, you know what happens. If you know where I'm going, you know what happens. But it is not a pretty sight for our would-be serial killer. And like I said, this is really good. There's so much tension, and like I said, they really push the boundaries with this one. They do things that they would never be able to do with a big studio behind them. But it's really good, and like I said, they throw the bits of dark humor in there, but it just works. It kind of gives you that moment to exhale when you're feeling like you're on the edge of your seat and you've been there for way too long, and you can kind of exhale, laugh a little bit, and then it's right back in. But Big Bad Wolves is a winner. And I know so many people picked it up from the dollar store and kind of just threw it in the dollar store pile. If it's in your dollar store pile, pull it out and watch it. And it does have Hebrew subtitles, but it's really, really good. So Big Bad Wolves is my next pick. Now this is a newer one. I don't know what year it was done, but the release is newer. This is the UK release, but it is being released on Steelbook on Amazon, I think tomorrow. I think it's going to be October 7th is when it's going to be released on Amazon. This is the 4K HD of Dangerous Animals, and this is for the shark people. You know, we're out here, we're shark lovers, but basically the long and short of this one is, now this one I think is, I think it's an Australian film if I'm not mistaken, but it's in English. So we have a guy who runs a boat. He runs like a tourist boat, and he takes people to see the sharks, whatever else he does, but he is a serial killer. And what happens is he gets people on his boat and he takes them and they are never heard from again. And yeah, you can imagine what he's doing with them when he's taking them shark sighting. So that's all I'm going to say about this one, because I don't want to give anything away. But when certain people go missing, people go looking for them, and you can imagine what it is. But again, a fight for survival. But this is a really good shark movie. If you're looking for something and you enjoy the shark movies, I would say this is one of the really much better low budget shark movies. I thought it was really engaging. It kept my attention the whole time, and there's definitely a lot of tension and craziness and wildness that goes on, but I wouldn't call this like a cheesy bad movie. I think it's really pretty well done, and considering it's independently funded and all that, I think it's really good. So Dangerous Animals is my next one. And this one is another one that I have talked about before. This is not usually my go-to thing. I usually get so nauseous by the time I watch it. I get to like the middle of a film like this that I can't even watch it. But this story was so good, I just got sucked right in and I loved it. And this one is a French film called Raw. And I'm sure a lot of you have either heard of this, maybe you've seen it. I thought this was another one. Fantastic. We have a gal who is in her first year of veterinary college, and she is also a strict vegetarian. But what happens in the first, say, week of college, they have hazing for the new students. And her sister is also at the school, but she's a year ahead of her. So part of the hazing is that they have to eat a piece of, I think they said it was raw chicken. It's some sort of raw meat that they make her eat. And she's like, there's no way, I can't do it. So her sister says to her, you have to do it because they're never going to leave you alone if you don't just eat this piece of meat. Reluctantly and against everything she believes, she eats this piece of meat, and then all of a sudden all she's craving is meat, and you can imagine where it goes from there. And this is just a bloody good time. So if you haven't seen Raw, definitely put it on your list. It's a good one. I had a great time with it. Now this one, these are two of the filmmakers that I met at a convention, and they were just absolutely lovely. It's the Jen and Sylvia, the Saska sisters, and this is their big film that they did very well with, and it's American Mary. And this is it's an independent film. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think their parents helped them fund it by taking a second mortgage out on their house. I could be wrong. It may not be this film, but I do believe their parents helped them with the funding. I mean, we're talking shoestring budgets these films are made on, and you would not always know that. And this is a really great film, and it really has like a female empowerment a current running through it, and I got that directly from them when I spoke with them when I met them. But we have Mary, who is a medical student. She's a very accomplished medical student. She's doing very well. She's at the top of her class. All her professors are very impressed with her, and she gets invited to a party with the higher ups at the hospital that she's working at or training at. And she goes to this party and something happens, and there is a crime committed against her, an offense committed against her, and she loses her enthusiasm for the medical field. She is just disgusted with it. So what she ends up doing is she ends up getting into extreme body modification, and you can imagine where it goes from there. But this is amazing. It's so good. I love this movie. I love the film. I love the Saska sisters. I think they are so awesome. They're such hard workers, and they're such an important part of the independent filmmaking community, especially for horror. And I'm all about them. So if you get a chance, check out American Mary. You will not be disappointed. Okay, and we're heading over to New Zealand with a great little movie called Housebound. Now, I've talked about this one in the past. I love this one. It's also another one that has dark comedy elements, but I just love how it works with the main story. And what we have is we have a young gal. You can see the family here, and you can see There's definitely something going on. I love that cover shot. But, and this one is not subtitled, it's in English. So we have a young gal, and what happens is in the very beginning of the film, she gets herself into some trouble with the law enforcement, and she is put on house arrest. And her house arrest is under the care of her parents. She has to stay at her parents' house, and she is not happy about it. But she's doing her thing, she's miserable, she's in the house, she's got the ankle bracelet on. And what happens is at night, she starts to hear sounds in the walls, and she thinks that the house is haunted or that there's something going on that can't be explained. And she asks her mother, have you ever heard anything? The mother's, no, 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 I've never heard anything. But we follow her on her investigation to figure out what the heck is going on in the house and in the walls in particular. And she brings her mother into it, and their banter back and forth is great. It's classic. There is so much to love about this film, and it's one that I go back to again and again. It is a good time, and I think pretty much anyone would enjoy this. This is not, I wouldn't say this is a hardcore gore-fest horror film. So if you're looking for something that you can enjoy that isn't going to creep you out too much and it's not super gory, definitely check out Housebound. This is good for anyone, and it's never let me down. I love it, Housebound. Now, this one is, this is one of the first real, like, booby trap movies I saw. Think like the Saw franchise, the Collector movies. If you've seen those, you know what I'm talking about. Rooms that are filled with traps, and people need to get through the traps to live. And this movie is called Cube. Now, this is the original. This is not the, I believe there was a Japanese remake that just didn't do very well, but this is the original one. And basically what we have is we have a group of strangers, and they wake up and they're in a room that's a square. And in order to get to safety, so they are told, they need to figure out how to safely get through out of one room and into the next one. And each room is a square cube. And they go through these various rooms that are filled with these insane traps. I mean, this is the ultimate trap movie, I think. This was my introduction to booby-trapped rooms, but I think this is great. I watch it again and again, and I love it every time. Not so much the remake. I really was very disappointed in that one, but I love the original one. So if you haven't seen Cube, it's a great indie horror film. Definitely check this one out. And this one is in English. This one is in English, so you won't have to do the subtitle thing if that's not your jam. Now, we have talked about this family. I'm kind of cheating here. I have 3 films from them, but I'm not going to get too much into all of them. But it's the Addams Family. And if you've been around the channel, you know there's a lot of people in the comments section who love the Addams Family. They are a family of independent filmmakers. It's a mother, a father, and their 2 daughters. And they do everything. I mean, they use their own homes for these films. They do their own cinematography. They even do the music for the films. They are so invested in their filmmaking. I just want them to hit it big one day and just make a huge hit of a movie, because if you look up the scores for their movies, they kind of a lot of these, they'll range in like the 5, maybe high 5, low 6s. And that's because people are used to these big Hollywood productions, and that's not what you get with indie horror, but that's why I love it so much. One of the first ones I ever saw from them is called The Deeper You Dig, and basically what this one is it's kind of a supernatural movie. It has supernatural horror elements to it. We have a fella who is working on his house. It's a very isolated home, and it's their home they use to do this. And he's remodeling, he's renovating the house. He's kind of doing like a gut renovation. And then there's a woman played by his wife and her daughter who live up the road. And she is like a tarot card reader, but she's not real. She's a fake, and she's kind of pulling a ruse on the people that go to her. And then she lives with her daughter. And something happens very early on in the film where the guy who's renovating the house is involved in an accident. And instead of doing the right thing, he kind of tries to cover his tracks from this accident. And all I'm going to say is the supernatural horror part comes in because it comes back to haunt him. And he starts to see things when he's in this house. And it freaks him out and scares the bejesus out of him. And it is just such a good movie. And I love the way the characters all interact. I love everything about this. And the special features on here, that's what made me fall in love with this family, because they sit down and they talk about their process, how much work they put in, how much dedication, and everything they do to make their films happen. And I just have so much respect for what they're doing. So this one was put out by Arrow. And then I watched another one of their films last night, called Hellbender. Now this is the DVD, but Arrow released a limited edition Blu-ray, which I have ordered. It's available on both the Arrow store. It's on sale right now for like $25. Also, it's available on Amazon. So if you want to pick up the Blu-ray, it is available, and it comes with a booklet and all kinds of special features. But this is basically a witch story, and what we have is it's just the mother and the daughter, and they are living alone in the woods, and the mother tells the daughter that she's got some sort of autoimmune disorder where she can't be around people, and they're living very isolated in the woods. And the reason the mother doesn't want the daughter going near people is because she knows that the daughter has certain powers that could make her very dangerous. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Now, this one is a little more on the slow burn side of it, but I just have so much appreciation for what they're doing, and I had such a blast with this. I can't wait to jump in to the limited edition and see what else they have to offer as far as special effects, because I thought this was a lot of fun, and I'll support anything they do. It may not be the top of the list film, but I just have so much respect, and I will always support these guys. So that's another Addams Family film. And then this one I haven't seen yet, but I grabbed it off of Vinegar Syndrome partner labels because they are hooked up now with Yellow Veil, and Yellow Veil is also putting out their movies, but they're, still independently made. And this one is called Where the Devil Roams. I am going to be watching this tonight, so I can give you more thoughts on it after I watch it if you're interested in it. But it says, while the body rots and dust and bone, there is a tear in the heart where the devil roams. And people are very, very impressed with this one, so I'm really looking forward to checking out this offering from the Addams Family. And do your homework and check out what they have to offer. And I think if you're into independent filmmaking, you are going to love these guys just for their commitment to the craft and their commitment to the art. And I just hope they make it huge one day because they're awesome. So that's my thing with the Addams Family. And then I just have a few more and we're out of here. Now this one I have talked about. This is definitely not going to be for everyone. This is a Spanish film and it is called The Coffee Table. Whew, this one took me out with the anxiety. But what we have is a couple. They are new parents. They are married. They go to a furniture store and the husband wants to buy this just atrocity of a coffee table, and they're fighting about it, and the guy in the store convinces them that it is going to be life-changing. Their whole life is going to change because of this coffee table. So reluctantly, the wife just lets the husband buy it. They bring it home, and as the day goes on, something happens, and it happens off screen, but it is enough. We know what happens, and it just sends you into this spiral of anxiety, which is exactly what this film wants. And all I can say to you is if you haven't seen it, go in blind, but be warned, this is a high tension, high anxiety film, and it's not going to be for everyone, but I really, really love this. The rest of the film is spent sitting on the edge of your seat because there is something that has to happen, is inevitably going to happen, and you're just wanting it to happen and be done with it. And they just drag you through the next hour, because it happens within the first half hour, but they drag you through the next hour where you are just filled with dread and anxiety, and you can feel everything that the characters are going through. And I think this is a winner of a film. I do not think it's for everyone. Proceed with caution, but I love The Coffee Table, and it is an indie film, and I had to have it in the pile because I just was taken in by the whole thing. Okay, just 3 more films and we're out of here. Now this one I've talked about before. This is one of many films that I have from Alex de la Iglesia. I hope I said that correctly. And this one is called The Last Circus, and I adore this film. I think it's fantastic. Now there's another film called The Day of the Beast, which I am going to do in another segment, but that's another great film from him. This one takes place, it starts out during the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s, And we have a little boy by the name of Javier, and he comes from a family of clowns. His father was a clown, his grandfather was a clown, and he wants to be a clown, but he goes through so many hard things in his life. His father tells him when he's ready to go off on his own, his father tells him, you cannot be a happy clown. He wants to be a happy clown. He goes, you cannot be a happy clown. You have to be the sad clown. So he gets a job with his circus, and he tells him he's going to be the sad clown. And he is going to be working with a gentleman by the name of Sergio. Sergio is going to be the happy clown. Javier is going to be the sad clown. And Sergio is a psychopath. That's all I'm going to say about Sergio. But basically what ends up happening is Sergio has this woman that he's living with, and Javier develops this really interesting friendship with her, but he is really interested in her. And all I can tell you is that there is this battle between good and evil, happy and sad, Javier and Sergio, and that's where the film takes us, and that's where it becomes a very dark film. And the third act is like, whew, it is wild. I don't want to say too much for people who haven't seen it because I don't want to ruin the plot and I don't want to ruin the story, because it really is a very, very good film and a really interesting story. I really enjoy this one. Not for the squeamish, of course, but this is a really good clown movie. If you want to see something fun, check out The Last Circus. You will not be disappointed. I'm never disappointed, but I have a little box set of his films. I'm going to talk about that as well in the future this month. But really good stuff. Really great filmmaker. This one I've also talked about as well. This is pure 1970s goodness. It is Alice, Sweet Alice. And I actually confirmed this is an indie film. It was shot in New Jersey, and as soon as the film opens, you can tell it's like, if you're from New Jersey like I am, you can tell it's absolutely New Jersey. And a very young Brooke Shields makes her first big screen appearance in this one. And basically what happens is we have, it's a slasher film. We have people that are being killed, and all we know about the killer is that the killer wears a yellow rain slicker. You don't know, there's nothing that you find out until the end. There's the reveal of the killer at the end. Even though I know who the killer is, I can watch this over and over and over again. But it is pure 1970s gold. If you love 1970s and you love the vibe and you like a good slasher, it's really, really got it all. I can tell you that they could never make this film today the way they made it here, because I've said this before, but like even the police who are investigating, they really are zeroing in on this child as the killer, like a young teen as the killer, and they make all kinds of comments, like rude comments about her body and all kinds of things that could never be said. And then they live in this apartment building, and she'll go downstairs and visit the neighbor, who's this big overweight guy living with a million different cats, and he is just so wildly inappropriate. And I mean, he's gross to begin with, and then he's wildly inappropriate on top of it. It's enough to put you right over the edge. But like I said, we definitely have this person running around in a slicker taking people out, and you're really left wondering, who it could be and why they're doing it. But Alice, Sweet Alice is a winner of a slasher film, so it's definitely one that you should put on your to watch list. And this is the Arrow release, so Arrow did pick it up and they gave it a nice release, and it's still around there. It's still out there. I think this might be the 4K. It actually got a 4K upgrade because it was originally Blu-ray. Now this last one, I picked this up on Vinegar Syndrome, and it is Censor. And this one has to do with the age of the video nasties in the UK in the 1980s. And basically what we do is we follow this gal who is a censor, and all day she has to sit and watch these graphic, horrible, violent, crazy movies. And she has to decide what stays and what goes. She's a movie censor, and she decides where they've crossed the line. And she does it in such a stoic manner. When she talks to the people who are going to make the final decisions about the film, and she's saying why one thing can be in and another thing can't, she's so stoic and unaffected seeming by these films that she's watching day after day, all day long. She's just very matter of fact, but one day she's watching a film and it triggers a memory in her, and that's where things get wild. Now, what I will say about this one is my first watch of this one, I was loving it until the third act. And the third act got a little crazy and I kind of couldn't follow it. But now that I've seen it a few times, I definitely understand what they were going for in the third act, and I'm good with it. So just know that if it's your first time watching it, you might get a little lost in the third act and think what just happened, but give it a chance, stay with it, because I think Censor is a winner and it's a great indie film. So that's my last pick, and like I said, I could have done 50 films easily in this, but it would have been a 4-hour video and no one would have watched it. But I can do installments. If you guys like indie horror, there's plenty more where this came from. And also, let me know, what are your favorite indie horror films in the comments? Maybe I'll use some of them for the future lists. And I want to thank you guys as always for watching. I appreciate it. You know I appreciate each and every one of you who click on these. And I hope you're enjoying Spooky Month. We have so much more content coming. And that's going to do it for me today. So I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to play with the girls. I'll tell Pickle that everyone said hello to her. So for today, that's a wrap.